Dear audience, Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure to welcome you all on the quarterfinals of the very first inter-school English debate competition organized by Bangladesh Television Chattogram Center. For good ideas and true innovation, we need human interactions, conflicts, and arguments. Even though conflicts and arguments are often looked upon as negative activities, debate is that one place where they all merge together and form it into a positive, formal method of interaction to come to a conclusion for an argument. Since as individuals, we have different outlooks on the same topic, it makes us unique. But debate and divergence of views can only enrich our history and culture, and that factor reflects really well as a debater tries to bridge the gap between awareness of information by sharing their aspects of social influences. Dear audience, looking at these confident faces of the debaters here today, I don't want to do any further delay, so let's begin today's debate competition. I, your host, would love to invite you all to come along and enjoy our very lively debate competition participated by these lovely debaters. Today, the motion for the debate competition is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving country's economy. The team for the motion belongs to Ispahani Public School and College, Chattogram. The team against the motion belongs to Bangladesh Elementary School, Chattogram. The speakers for the motion are Mostafizur Rahman, Tazil Afroz, Zahin Morslin. Speakers against the motion are Muttasim Mubashir, Zurin Anan Uma, Waziha Chaudhary. The honorable adjudicators of today's session are Shamshuddin Ilyas, Bureau Chief, The Business Standard, Chittagong Bureau; Abdullah Muhammad Shukrana, President, Bangladesh Debate Federation; Saifuddin Munna, Assistant Professor, Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Premier University. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the constructive round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 10, Presentation of Theory and Information 15, Argumentation and Rebuttal 10. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the rebuttal round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 5, Argumentation and Rebuttal 20. Dear viewers, now I would love to introduce you to our honorable moderator of today's program, who will be conducting the entire competition and announce the results at the end. The honorable moderator of today's program is Professor Dr. Iftikharuddin Chaudhary, eminent educationalist and former Vice Chancellor, University of Chittagong. At this point, I would love to humbly request you, sir, to come up on the stage and take your seat. Before we start the debate, I would like to inform you about the order and time allocation of each debater. Each debater will get 5 minutes to present his or her speech. An alarming bell will ring on the 4th minute and the final bell will ring on the 5th minute. In the rebuttal round, both the team leaders will get 2 minutes each. Alarming bell will ring on 1.5 minutes and the final bell will ring on the 2nd minute. Dear audience, before getting on to the competition, I would like to give you a friendly reminder that from now onwards, you can not only watch our episodes on your television set, but also on Facebook and YouTube. Tune in on facebook.com/btvchattogram and www.youtube.com/@btvchattogram. Now, I most humbly would like to request our honorable moderator to preside over the competition and start the debate.
Thank you very much, dear reporter. It's my enormous pleasure and proud privilege to welcome all the respected judges, participants and viewers to today's first inter-school English debate competition 2023 organized by Bangladesh Television, Chattogram Center. This is quarter round final. The topic of today's debate is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. We have with us Ispahani Public School and College, Chattogram, for the motion. And against the motion, we have with us Bangladesh Elementary School, Chattogram. So first of all, I'd like to invite first speaker from Ispahani School, Public School and College, Mostafizur Rahman, to make his presentation for the motion.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to our honorable moderator, respected judges, our dear opposition party along with all the audiences present here. Our today's motion is, government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. And due to logical reasons, I am speaking for the motion. The political system that runs or administers a country or community is called government. The role of the government is to build up an ideal state. The ideal state is one which seeks to provide equal opportunities for all of its citizens to enjoy their lives, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is argued by the great Greek philosopher Plato that the state which has ensured the maximum happiness of all of its citizens is the ideal state. Now, what do we mean by the happiness of a citizen? A citizen with social support, freedom, generosity, stable income, proper health are termed as the happiness of a citizen. Why does my opposition today think that government should prioritize economic development? Because they are also proposing that economic development will increase the happiness of a citizen. Today, to win this debate, my dear opposition party had to prove that economic development will ensure the happiness of a citizen. Today, with our reasoning, we are going to prove that economic development of a country is not the priority of a government. Rather, its priority is to enact laws and policies for reduction of corruption and inequality in the country in order to ensure happiness for all of its citizens. Our opposition party needs to answer a very specific question today. What are the specific steps the government should take to improve economic condition? I repeat the question, my dear moderator, that what are the specific steps the government should take to improve the economic condition of the country? As per UN, at present, out of 193 countries, in land size, Bangladesh is 94th. As per World Data Info, the economy of Bangladesh is the 35th largest economy of the world. But even after all that, as per World Happiness Report 2023, Bangladesh is ranked 118th out of 137 countries. As we have observed that economic condition of Bangladesh is way better than the Global Happiness Index, from this perspective, we have also said that we have way more to improve in the happiness sector of Bangladesh instead of the economic sector. Now let us go deeper into the country's economic system. Who are the key role players and the main contributors to our economic system? The private sector of the country. As per United Nations Development Program study, Bangladesh's private sector accounts for 78% of the economic development. Today, we are going to go through the remittance sent in private banks, the RMG sector, and private agriculture sector. If we go through these sectors, we'll understand the contribution of private sectors of the country in the economy. My second speaker will broadly discuss how private sectors are the driving factor of the economic system and not the government. After going through the stats, it is observed that economic improvement is not the priority of the government. So what is the priority of the government? It is seen that in the world, the rich continue to exploit the resources and assets and become richer, whereas the poor are being exploited and becoming more poor. The duty of the government is to ensure that each person gets equal opportunities and there is equal distribution of resources. And there is equal distribution of the wealth earned by everyone. If all the resources of the country are reserved only under a set of people, the country can never develop. The country being rich and the country's citizen being rich are two very different things. My third speaker will broadly discuss what are the main duties of the government. To conclude, I would like to remind everyone that if the government stops concerning regarding the country's economy, the private sectors will continue to increase the economy. But if the government stops prioritizing the enacting of laws and policies, there will stay no other alternative to it. There will be social unrest in the country, and there will be injustice and corruption increasement. There will be various crimes occurring throughout the country. The government strives to build up an ideal state, and in order to build it, government should prioritize equal distribution of wealth and reduction of corruption. Thank you, my dear moderator, for giving me the stage to speak.
I call upon Muhtasim Mubashir from Bangladesh Elementary School to make her presentation against the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor to speak and express my views against today's motion, which is the government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. Let us first quickly deconstruct the topic at hand. I believe all of us here are more or less familiar with what happiness is. But happiness is of two types: subjective happiness and objective happiness. Subjective or personal happiness differs from person to person. Handling it is not the responsibility of the state. But on the other hand, objective happiness, if we want to define it through the definitions of Bhutan, we may define it as the state of well-being and contentment. Now, according to Bhutan's National Happiness Index, the main domains of such happiness are psychological well-being, health, education, greater literacy rate, knowledge, good governance, community vitality, ecological diversity, and better living standards. We'll get to why these are important in just a while. But to keep it simple, today, our main arguments are: number one, shifting focus away from economic development, especially in the current context, is irresponsible and irrational. And number two, for happiness to triumph, of course, economy comes first. Let us take a look at the top countries of the Global Happiness Index 2023. Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Netherlands, Sweden, all are at the top. What do these countries have in common? They have a high per capita income, not GDP, per capita income of over 50,000 US dollars. On the other hand, Pakistan, Bangladesh and India, which are ranked at 108th, 118th and 126th respectively out of 137 countries of the Happiness Index, what do we have in common? These three countries have a very low per capita income of less than 3,000 US dollars. So therefore, there is definitely a correlation between the economic stability, economic condition of a country and the rate of happiness. Honorable Moderator and my dear opponents, Bhutan is a prime example of such happy countries, of course. Now, the Gross National Happiness Index of Bhutan intends to remove the insufficient conditions of the unhappy people of Bhutan by taking policy decisions. But how are these policy decisions manifested into reality? Simple, through socio-economic development. In the United States resolution called Happiness, a holistic approach towards development, do you know what was the very first priority of them? Yes, it was socio-economic development. Now, remember the factors of happiness which I mentioned. Objective happiness, remember, objective happiness which I mentioned before. All of these factors are related, correlated, and even dependent on the economic section in one way or other. Now, let's take a step back and look at it from the perspective of Bangladesh. We are clearly an unhappy state, being at the 118th position out of 137 countries. But why? Why is this unhappiness taking place? The main reasons are crippling poverty, income disparity, high inflation, financial instability, and not to mention the very destructive unemployment rates of our country. Well, what do all of these problems have in common? They are all actually economy-based problems and can be only solved when the government focuses on the economy of the country. Let's compare the economic state of a country with a three-story building. In the ground floor or the first floor, the economy is unstable. People don't have their fundamental rights. And, of course, national unhappiness prevails. In the second floor, the economy is stable and the rights are fulfilled. And in the third floor, we can focus on the extra citizens' happiness and on the extra benefits that the state wants to provide, which my dear opponents advocate today. Honorable judges, if we take a look at this example, we can never really jump from the first floor to the third floor without without completing the second floor, which is economic stability. Once the foundation is strong, then only can we keep building on top of the foundation and ensure the overall happiness of the citizens. Now, dear opponents, I'm sure you've read in the BGS books of our own grade 9 to 10th that the main responsibilities, two types of responsibilities of the state, mandatory and secondary. The financial responsibilities of the state are the mandatory responsibilities. On the other hand, the subjective happiness of people falls under the secondary responsibilities of the people, of the government. So why do you intend to let the government prioritize a secondary issue over a primary one? The primary one has not even been sorted out yet. So I believe this is simply irrational. Dear opponents, you want happiness? We want happiness as well, but we want it through proper economic prosperity. When the rights of people are ensured, lives are uplifted, happiness is increased. Therefore, we invite you to join hands and keep your biases aside and work together with us towards a better, brighter Bangladesh. I would like to conclude my speech here. Thank you.
And I'd like to invite Tajil Afroz from Ispahani Public School and College to produce her arguments for the motion titled Government Should Prioritize Increasing Citizens' Happiness over Improving the Country's Economy.
Thomas Jefferson once said, "The care of human life and happiness is the first and only objective of a good government." Honorable moderator, esteemed judges, and my fellow debaters, Assalamu alaikum to one and all present over here. Thank you, honorable moderator, for giving me the floor to speak today. The motion of this House today is, government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. And for some very logical reasons, I am speaking for the motion. The core mission of government is to ensure the happiness of its citizens. This goes beyond just maintaining order. It's about creating an environment where happiness thrives. It's not just the absence of suffering, but the presence of well-being, opportunity, and fulfillment for all. The economy of Bangladesh is a major developing market economy. Bangladesh is now the 35th largest market economy in the world, according to a report titled The Top Heavy Global Economy published by Visual Capitalist. Happiness is the sole reason for every human action. No matter what we do it to make ourselves happy. However, going by the year's World Happiness Report brought out by the United Nations, we in Bangladesh are not a happy nation. On a list of 137 countries, Bangladesh ranks 118. This makes the country among the top 20 unhappiest countries in the world. Bangladesh performs even lower than the war-torn Ukraine. From the data presented, it's quite clear that Bangladesh's economic country is way more developed than its happiness index. So now let me clear our point that why should the government prioritize the citizens' happiness over the economic growth? As I mentioned earlier, Bangladesh ranks 35th in the global economy. According to the World Bank Open data, the main income source of Bangladesh is the RMG sector or ready-made garment sector. It accounts for about 80% of Bangladesh's export earnings and employs about 4 million people. The RMG sector is also a major driver of economic growth, contributing over 17% of the GDP. Here, agriculture is the backbone of Bangladesh's economy, contributing over 12% of the GDP and employing over 40% of the overall population. Besides, remittance from Bangladesh's working abroad are another major source of income over here, accounting for over 10% of the GDP. The private sector plays a vital role over here, and it's worth mentioning. It's the largest employer in Bangladesh, providing jobs for 80% of the total population, and contributes to economic development by investing in new technologies and businesses, leading to increased productivity and innovation. So from the data presented, it's quite clear that economic development of the country is mainly carried out by the private sector. Now, what is the role of government over here? The role of government over here is to ensure the equal and proper distribution of wealth among the population and bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Now, as our opponents are saying that the happiest countries which are ranked today are because they have a good economic system, they have a rich economic system. But that's not the case. I'll prove that how. How a rich country does not actually ensure a more happy nation. Let me prove that. According to an article published by The Guardian, a study by economist Richard Eastley questioned the common belief that a wealthier nation leads to a happier nation, which is the same idea that is being proposed by our opponents over here. Eastley's research presented data from 37 countries which showed that increasing a country's income and economy over time does not necessarily make its people happier. This actually goes on to prove that a boost in economy does not ensure the happiness of its citizens, which is being proved by our opponents. They are saying that if a country's economic success is more, they are more happy. It's not the case. In this article, it was also mentioned that the countries like Chile, China, and South Korea saw economic boost in less than 20 years. But the happiness did not follow the same pattern. Because although the economic boosters, they still could not bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. As a result, the rich become richer and the poor become poorer. The GDP growth of Bangladesh has been increased steadily since the 1980s. The growth rate has been strong, with economy growing at an average rate of 7% every 5 years, according to the World Bank. Now, the current per capita income of Bangladesh is $18,000 US. But due to corruption in various government sectors, there is a bridge that has been created between the rich and the poor, which eventually makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. So now here's when the role of government actually comes. The role of government is not to find ways to boost the economy, because what our country is currently earning, if the government can ensure the proper distribution of the per capita income, then it will be enough to ensure the overall well-being of its citizens. Now, let me come to another point. Now suppose the income of a country is 100 taka. Over here, 90 taka is consumed by 10% of the people, and 10 taka is allotted for rest 90% population. So what our opponents are trying to prove that if an economic boost, then only the life of this 90% population will improve. But that's not the case, because now if the income of the country increases 200 taka, but the same model of income is seen, then 10% of the people still receive 180 taka, and only 20 taka is received by 90% of the people. So over here, the government ensures the distribution of 50% wealth for 90% of its population. Then they will receive 50 taka, and remaining 50 taka will be allotted for the rest 10% of the population. So over here, when the government ensures proper distribution of wealth, then automatically the well-being of the 90% citizens increases 5 times even without increasing the income. Now, another point that I would like to add is how measuring happiness is not easy. It's not the more people in a country, the more happier country. It's not the case, right? So, the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network ranks countries on happiness based on 6 key factors. These are social support, health, freedom, generosity, income, and the absence of corruption. So, if Bangladesh can actually ensure the sustainable development of its citizens by ensuring these factors, it will be more beneficial in the long run, because the economy of the country will gradually increase due to contribution of private sector. There is no need of government to actually work for it, because private sectors are already working to ensure the development of the nation. So if government works to ensure the distribution, it will be more beneficial. Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving the stage.
Now I'll take this opportunity to invite Jareen, Anand, Uma to produce her arguments against the motion.
In lands where economy thrive and bloom, citizens find happiness in every room. With jobs and wages prospects anew, their spirit shrinks. A very good morning to my honorable moderators, respected judges, and my fellow opponents. Today our debate topic is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy, and me and my team believes according to the evidence support, we believe that evidence supports our different perspectives, and that's why we are standing against of it. My dear opponents, I'm very sorry to say that they didn't even prove why should government prioritize citizens' happiness over improvement of economy. They are being busy telling that Bangladesh is stable in economy. My dear opponents, after hearing their speech, according to my opponents, let's think of an imaginary world, the world of fantasy, where you will eat popcorn and watch movies 24/7 and wake up and again you repeat the cycle continuously. It's as if you are saying that there is no improvement of economy if we go by following your illogical ideology. Unfortunately, we don't have to think about developed Bangladesh from developing, rather we have to think the opposite. Then secondly, my dear opponent, if we think the present context of Bangladesh, inflation is very much common now. People are not at a stage to afford food where their people are dying not being able to afford food. At that time, the first speaker of their team are telling that the economy of Bangladesh is way better. Secondly, the economy's improvement is needed in the sector to feed the people who are dying not being able to afford food and consume food. For a poor person, being able to eat twice a day is happiness. How can you even expect him to be happy if you don't even fix the inflation through improvement of economy? Isn't it visible that improvement of country's economic comfort as it brings happiness for the citizens, my dear opposition? Then John Maynard Keynes and Dr. Franklin Roosevelt stated a country's path to development hinges on economic development. Citizens' happiness thrive with a thriving economy, source Daily Observer. Let's say that the government is currently helping to those who in need. If the ruling party falls unfortunately or goes under military coup, who will take the liability then, my dear opponents? You guys? You are talking about these things when people are struggling to afford food twice a day, my dear opposition, Bangladesh is a small country with a large populations. We have 1,48,460 square kilometer land where 180 million people live. It is logical to focus on improving the economy rather than providing citizen services for citizens' happiness. Even if you put citizen services above the economy, what is the key to on the other hand, economy is the key to happiness. How can you even make sense here, my dear opponents? According to Boipara, writer Pramodha Chaudhuri mentions that people are so focused on fulfilling their basic needs that if you tell them to read books, it will only seem a mockery to them. If you tell about happiness to a hungry man who can't afford food, who can't eat food, if you talk about happiness at that time, it will seem a mockery to them also. Then, my honorable moderator, the biggest problem is unemployment problems. Don't you think, my dear opponents, we should decrease the unemployment problem through economy improvement? If a person is unemployed and has no economic sufficiency, how can they be happy with no job, no money, and just sitting at home by eating popcorns and watching movies, my dear opponents? Then, my opponents, will government take their liability? Will they go to every unemployed person's house and say, knock, knock, I'm here to give you money, just be happy, don't need to work? Then, my opponents, then it's about corruption. My opponents mention about corruption sector in economic sector. I think it is illogical to mention about corruption in economic sector, as if corruption does occur, it is inevitable to occur in other sectors too. But fortunately, our government has taken necessary steps. Our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has already taken necessary steps and decreased corruption by 72%, according to the source Daily Star. Then, according to FNS News, a rich country are more happy and a poor country are not happy. So, my dear opponents, what the reason behind it? The reason is economy. We have seen such cases of countries and a very nice happiness index. Let's take the Netherlands for example. They have an annual GDP of 1 trillion USD and ranking as the 5th most happiest country in the world. On the other hand, Afghanistan, a GDP of almost 14 billion, ranking as the happiest country in the world. Here also the term about the economy improvement can be seen. And I'm very sorry to say that, my dear opponents, rather my opponent team is increasing the unemployment rate, the inflation problem by supporting today's stated topic instead of fixing by supporting improvement of economy. Thank you.
Now I like to invite the team leader of Ispahani Public School and College, Jahin Morsalin, to present her arguments for the motion.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau once said, the general will is the will of the majority, but it is also the will of the whole people. It is what is best for everyone, even if some people do not agree with it. Honorable moderator, respected judges, and my dear esteemed opponents, Assalamu alaikum to you all. Today our motion is, governments should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving the country's economy. And for some obvious reason, I am speaking for the motion. My dear opponents, what is the role of government when it's come to conducting the country? The main role of government is to protect the interests of its citizens. This can be done in a variety of ways, such as providing public goods and services, enforcing law, providing a stable and orderly society, redistributing wealth, and by ensuring proper education, infrastructure, and research sectors. As my second speaker has already explained how the economy of every country, including ours, is run by private sectors, and the main work of government is governance, I would like to clarify what good governance is. Good governance is the process of measuring how public institutions conduct public affairs and manage public resources and guarantee the realizations of human rights in a manner essentially free of abuse and corruption and with due regard for the rule of law. My dear opponents, good governance is not how you earn money and be developed. Good governance is how you keep your citizens happy by prioritizing their needs. Honorable moderator, many countries in this world have failed to be developed as a nation just because of their inappropriate governance. One of the countries among them is Sri Lanka. The government of Sri Lanka, in attempt to increase the economy to such high level, has faced a complete downfall. The effects that happened afterwards are economic disparities, which are seen with a significant wealth gap in rural and urban areas. Inflation has reached record levels in Sri Lanka. This means that the prices of goods and services have risen sharply, making it even more difficult for people to afford the things they have. They are facing debt crisis. Social instability prevailed. Access to education and healthcare was uneven. Lack of job opportunities of young people lead to frustration and social issues. So, what happened due to this? The citizens of that nation always remain unhappy, as well as the economy is also damaged, my dear opponents. There is a positive correlation between wealth and happiness, but the relationship is not linear. To be very specific, wealth does not always lead to more happiness. Once basic needs are met, additional wealth does not have a specific impact on happiness. For example, as my second speaker has said that World Happiness Report 2023 ranks Finland, Denmark and Iceland as the happiest countries in the world. These countries are all relatively wealthy, but they also have strong social safety nets, high levels of trust, and a strong sense of community. Honorable moderator, my opponents has stated a fact that rich countries are happier, but let me give you the example of USA. Are they happier? Are they happy? They are not. Even if they are being developed, they are one of the developed countries of the world. Are they the happiest countries of the world? They are not. Why so? Because the rich remains richer there and poor remains poorer there. No equal distribution of money has been happened there. Nothing has happened there. If we can do equal distribution of money, then we can be happy as a state. And again, coming to the point of we living in a fantasy world, that is not our motion. Our motion is to increase the citizens' happiness, not to watch TV and eat popcorn. Okay, now let me give you another example. If I talk about North Korea, even if North Korea becomes the richest economy in the world, the people would still not be happy because they do not have freedom. They would not have freedom of speech, would not have freedom of movement, freedom of religion, nothing. Why so? Because North Korea is a totalitarian state with a repressive government, honorable moderator. My point of saying those things are that happiness is more than just having material possessions. Honorable moderator, even with the amount of funded economy our country has, we cannot still afford the happiness. Then, how can with the improvement of country's economy, the government will be able to make the citizens happy? The government can create a more just and equitable society by addressing issues such as poverty, inequality and discrimination, as well as ensuring sustainable development by creating jobs, enhancing social cohesion, promoting peace and security. My dear opponents, the main work of government is not to earn money by economic developments. Its work is to regulate those activities. But as per current situation, we can see that the economic side is largely handled by the private sector. So this is really irrelevant of you to speak about this. Thank you, honorable moderator, for giving me the stage.
Now I'd like to invite Wajiha Chaudhary from Bangladesh Elementary School and College, Chattogram, to make her presentation against the motion.
A thriving economy is the foundation upon which the edifice of citizens' happiness is built. Thank you, honorable moderator, for giving me the floor to speak. Today, the motion that have been raised is government should prioritize increasing citizens' happiness over improving country's economy, and for some actual and factual reasons, we stand against it. Honorable moderator, citizens' happiness is closely related with economy's well-being, and improved economy provides job security, access to basic needs, opportunities for personal growth, and overall high quality of life. When the economy is strong, individuals and families are more financially secure and can pursue their aspirations, contributing to greater happiness and well-being. But my dear opponents don't even care about it, as they want an imaginary world explained by my second speaker. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, that we agree that citizens' happiness should be prioritized over country's economy. What would happen then? The poverty rate would not decrease. The unemployment rate would continue to rise. People would die for not being able to afford food. Healthcare would not develop. And people would die. This is all fine with my dear opponents because they only want happiness. But they do not want the means to ensure happiness. They do not want to improve the economy, which is the main thing that will ensure happiness for the citizens. You say that happiness is essential, so I will give you all the happiness you need. Let's say we allocate 10% more of our budget to your happiness. However, this may lead to a decrease in productivity in some sectors, which could result in job losses and high prices of consumer. What will you do with your happiness in this case, my dear opponents? Now 4 eggs cost 60 taka, which is really expensive. And with the passage of time, it will increase. We can see that the price of rice, lentils, and oil is increasing day by day, and this may increase by double or triple, which will have impact on people's budget and financial well-being. The steps that we might take for citizens' happiness, will it be effective, my dear opponents? Honorable moderator, let's look at our neighboring country, Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government took economic actions for citizen advantages, including tax cuts, because of which the economy became weaker and eventually collapsed under pressure. How can you guarantee that the same won't happen if you, with our 100 existing challenges, shift our focus from the economy? Let's look at a country who prioritizes citizens' happiness above all. According to the West Australian newspaper, in the land of Tuvalu, a government decided to prioritize citizens' happiness above all. They reduced working hours, invested in leisure, and promoted well-being. However, their economy suffered. Business struggled, jobs were lost, and the safety net frayed. As a result, happiness declined, crime rose, and social divisions deepened. It became clear that economic stability was vital for lasting happiness. The government adjusted its approach, seeking a balance between happiness and their economy. Tuvalu learned that prioritizing happiness was unsustainable. I hope my opponents have already understood that by only prioritizing citizens' happiness would not bring any benefit. My opponents are constantly arguing subjective happiness, but subjective happiness comes second, objective happiness comes first. Once we have a solid state of economic stability, the only we can impasse is on the social structures and the other sectors to increase subjective happiness and also give more facilities to the citizens. This thus improving focus right now is simply irresponsible, my dear opponents. Honorable moderator, when we can ensure all services, basic facilities, job opportunities, automatically it will bring happiness to the citizens. You don't have to prioritize citizens' happiness differently, my dear opponents. Dear opponents, focusing on economy will increase happiness as a byproduct, as we have shown. But on the other hand, if you only keep our citizens happy, will it bring any benefit to our economy, my dear opponents? No, right? We are not saying that we will not focus on citizens' happiness, but now, because of the worldwide situation, economic crisis in Bangladesh, the government first and foremost duty is to improve country's economy so that we can make our economy stable. If we can ensure that, then we can be more focused on creating happiness for our citizens. Honorable moderator, a jobless father knows how it feels when he cannot fulfill the needs of his child. A poverty-stricken family knows how it feels when they have to suffer for their basic needs. A hungry person knows the sufferings he has to go through to manage a meal one day. So, without the stability of the economy, how can you ensure this, my dear opponents? Dear opponents, let's agree that the government will take all the liabilities of an unemployed person, family, which is not actually possible, but still for your happiness, let's agree. But at any point, if there occurs a mass movement between the citizens or the government fall and the natural disaster occurs, which is actually a situation all over the world, it will be difficult to take all the liabilities of the citizen, and the government will all be in a dilemma. Because of your opinion is that let's not focus on improving our country's economy. So where the citizens will go, my dear opponents? Government do everything for the well-being of the citizens, and its citizens, for my dear opponents, if we just focus on bringing our economy at a stable position, at that point of time, it's not possible for us to ensure citizens' happiness. Thank you.
So now this is the time for refuting the arguments. First, I'd like to call upon Jahid Mursalin from Ispahani Public School and College, Chattogram, to make her presentation or refutation arguments for the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor again. As our opponent third speaker has said, because of poverty, poor are suffering a lot. Because of hunger, people are suffering a lot. That's exactly what our point is. You are speaking for our point. We are telling that not due to economy, if we can do proper distribution, equal distribution of wealth, we can decrease this poverty line, we can decrease the hunger, we can make people happier. If inflation will go and price hike will not be there, nothing will happen. Our country can prosper to development just by this way, not through increasing our economy. Every one of my speakers has cleared that what is truly meant by good governance. Even after that, our opposition party continues to say that economic boost is the way to increasing the happiness of the citizens. No, my dear opponents, it's not. If we can do proper distribution, we can be happy. Everyone each and every person of the state will be happy. As my second speaker has already explained the fact, let me again repeat it. Suppose the income of a country is 100 taka. Over here, 90 taka is consumed by 10% of the people and only 10 taka is allotted for rest 90% population. So, what are my opponents trying to prove is that economy boosts, then only the life of this 90% people population will improve. But that's not the case. Now suppose the income of the country increases to 200 taka, but if the same model of income distribution is seen, that 10% of the people will receive 180 taka, and that's what my point is. If the government ensures the distribution of 50% of wealth for 90% of its population, then they will receive 50%, and also that 10% will also receive 50% taka. Then there will be equal distribution of money. So, by this way, a nation can be happy. Again, you gave an example of a country, right? Or I also gave an example of Sri Lanka. That's what my motion says. Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor.
I'll call upon Wajiha Chowdhury to refute the arguments as the team leader of against the motion. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for again giving me the opportunity to speak. Equal distribution of assets is also a part of economic focus. Economic distribution, removing economic disparity is also part of our agenda, my dear opponents. We have mentioned per capita income instead of GDP for a reason. Per capita income shows the economic state of the people on an average. According to them, the poor country will remain happy not having food. Even according to them, the rich country will remain unhappy. Very sorry to say that this is an illogical reason, my dear opponents. Open the Bangladesh and Global Studies textbook and you will see that finances are a great part of mandatory actions of the state. You have missed that and you are constantly arguing against. The factors which you are mentioned to benefit the poor also need economic stability. We are in the state of unhappiness. We will have to remove it first, my dear opponents. And these factors are also to be controlled by government. These factors you mentioned in your favor also included income and economy multiple times. Isn't it ironic? We should handle the finances, government, our courses. You have also made a big mistake by claiming that economy is not the primary responsibilities of the state, my dear opponents. If you believe that economic condition has nothing to do with happiness, then why the poorer countries are in the bottom, my dear opponents? ক্ষুধা লাগলে পৃথিবী গদ্যময় পূর্ণিমা চাঁদ যেন ঝলসানো রুটি For in the realm of hunger the world prosaic the full moon appears to be a scorched prey. If we cannot ensure 2 meals a day, how can you think about happiness, my dear opponents? All these basic facilities cannot be ensured if we improve country's economy. Honorable Moderator, we see that the citizens being happy with the economic structure being built by the government. For instance, the Dhaka Elevated Express that we inaugurated yesterday connects the airport to Farmgate and it takes 12 minutes to cross it, whereas it used to take 2 to 2.5 hours where needed previously. At this time, citizens save money, time, save the environment at the same time. So we shall focus on improving the economy, or should we just invest in creating characters like Tom and Jerry that will go to your house and make everyone laugh and happy? Thank you, Honorable Moderator.
So meanwhile, I'd like to take this opportunity. It's a great opportunity for me to offer my heartiest thanks to both the parties. Those people are really splendid, profound and prolific for presenting their arguments, for presenting their points and pinpoints the real issues that have been given to them for argument. You see, happiness is a really relative matter. It's a very relative, it's a never-ending dilemma that we cannot go for how is a conclusion, how we can make ourselves happy. So, but anyway, early in our early stage, we used to listen to one of the very popular approach to the life. That is, money is lost, nothing is lost. Health is lost, something is lost. Character is lost, everything is lost. So you have to, emphasize how you have ethical standard in our business, in our education, in our all aspects of life. So that with these few words, now I like to announce the results that I have in my hands based on the judges' evaluation. So winner team of today is Bangladesh Elementary School and Chattogram. Now let me announce the best speakers. The best speaker is Mutasim Mubashir, the first speaker, Bangladesh Elementary School and School, Chattogram. With these few words, I like to declare the session closed. Thank you very much for your finest cooperation.